Hey, welcome back to English for Devs, the podcast where we help developers level up not just their code, but the language they use to talk about it. I'm your host, and joining me as always is my brilliant co-host,
who is definitely not still recovering from a brutal code review she got last Tuesday. Nope, totally fine. Moving on.
Oh no, we're going to need to hear about that at some point.
Later, maybe, if the therapy goes well. But that's actually exactly why today's topic is so close to my heart. We're talking about how to critique code without making the other person feel like they just submitted a kindergarten drawing to a museum jury.
Love that image. And look, code review is one of the most common communication scenarios for developers. You do it almost every day. And yet, it's one of the places where English, and language in general, can either build trust or completely destroy it.
Exactly. And for our listeners who work in international teams or who are writing comments in English as a second language, the stakes are even higher. Because you might mean to sound helpful, but the words you choose can land very differently than you intended.
So today we're going to break this down into real, usable language. Phrases you can literally copy and paste, adapt, into your next pull request comment.
Please do adapt them. Don't just write, as the podcast said, in your PR.
That would be a first. Okay, let's start with the big problem. What does blunt code review language actually sound like? Give me some examples.
Sure, classic blunt feedback. This is wrong. Or, why did you do it this way? Or my personal favorite, this will never scale.
Ouch. And the thing is, technically those sentences might even be correct. The code might genuinely have a problem, but the delivery makes the receiver feel attacked rather than supported.
Right. And when someone feels attacked, they get defensive. And when they're defensive, they stop listening. So you've just made the review less effective and damaged your relationship with a colleague. Lose-lose.
So what's the fix? The core principle here is shifting from directives to inquiry. Instead of telling someone what's wrong, you're exploring it with them.
Yes, and this is where modal verbs become your best friends. In English, modal verbs like could, might, would, and may carry a huge amount of social weight. They soften a statement and signal that you're open to discussion.
Let's do a direct comparison. I'll say the blunt version, you give me the soft skills version.
Let's go.
Blunt. This function is too long.
Soft. This function might benefit from being broken into smaller pieces. What do you think?
Ooh, nice. 2 moves there. You used might to soften the critique, and then you added what do you think, which hands agency back to the author.
That's the secret ingredient, the question at the end. It transforms a verdict into a conversation.
Another one. Blunt. You should use a dictionary here, not a list.
The soft version for that would be, I wonder if a dictionary could work better here for lookup performance. Happy to discuss if you had a different approach in mind.
Okay, I love I wonder if. That's such a powerful opener. It positions you as curious rather than critical.
Exactly. And notice the phrase, happy to discuss. That signals psychological safety. You're telling the other person, I am not here to judge you. I am here to solve this together.
Let's talk about another category. When you genuinely don't understand why something was done a certain way. This is tricky because your confusion can very easily come across as passive-aggressive.
The classic passive-aggressive move. Can you explain why you did this? Said with the wrong tone, that's basically, what on earth were you thinking?
Exactly. So what's the better version?
You want to lead with genuine curiosity. Try something like, I'd love to understand the reasoning behind this approach. I might be missing some context.
Oh, that last part is key. I might be missing some context. You're preemptively giving them the benefit of the doubt.
And here's the thing. Sometimes you are missing context. Maybe they made that architectural decision because of a constraint you don't know about. So that phrase is honest and kind.
Let's go deeper into some specific phrases. I want to give our listeners a little toolkit. What are your top go-to openers for a soft code review comment?
Okay, my top 5 openers. Number 1, have you considered... Very collaborative, opens a door without pushing anyone through it. Number 2, one option could be, notice could, not should, huge difference. Number 3, I might be wrong, but this one is gold because it shows humility before the critique even lands. Number 4. This is a minor thing, but this is great for low priority comments. It signals that you're not going to die on this hill. And last but not least, number 5. What was the thinking behind this? I want to make sure I understand before suggesting anything.
That last one is chef's kiss, because it completely reframes the dynamic. You're asking to be educated first.
And it works. People love explaining their own reasoning. It makes them feel heard. And then, once they've explained, they might even notice the issue themselves.
The best review is the one where the author fixes the problem before you even have to say anything.
The Socratic method, but for pull requests. I love it.
Now let's talk about something a bit more nuanced. What about when the code is genuinely, significantly problematic? Like this isn't a style preference, this is a real issue. Does soft language still work, or does it become dishonest?
Great question. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think soft language means vague language, but it doesn't. You can be direct and kind at the same time.
Say more.
So imagine there's a real security vulnerability. You don't want to bury it in softness to the point where the person doesn't understand it's serious. What you do is, you flag the severity, but you frame it as a shared concern. For example, I want to flag this as a potential security risk. If this endpoint isn't authenticated, we could be exposing user data. This one might be worth discussing with the team before we merge.
Okay, so you're being clear about the severity, potential security risk, exposing user data, but you're using we language throughout. We could be exposing, worth discussing with the team. It's not your problem, it's our problem.
Exactly. The word we is probably the single most powerful word in collaborative code review. It distributes ownership. It says, we're all responsible for this code base.
There's also something to say about where you put the critique in a comment. A lot of people lead with the problem, but structurally, it can help to start with what's working.
Yes, the sandwich method. Though honestly, I'd call it more of an open-faced sandwich. You don't want to be so complimentary that the critical feedback gets lost.
The open-faced sandwich. I'm going to use that.
Patent pending. But seriously, something like, the overall structure here is clean and easy to follow. One thing I'd flag is the error handling in this block. It might be worth adding a fallback for null responses.
Notice also, I'd flag instead of you need to fix. First person instead of second person. You're narrating your own experience of the code rather than issuing a command.
And that's another big principle. Describe your own experience rather than defining their mistake. Compare, this is confusing, that's a verdict, versus, I found this section a little hard to follow at first. That's your experience. Same message, completely different energy.
Let's take a quick pause here because I want to make sure we give our listeners some concrete grammar too. This is English for Devs after all.
Right, we can't just be a feelings podcast.
Exactly. So let's talk about conditional phrasing, because this is a really elegant tool. A conditional sentence lets you propose an alternative without declaring the current solution wrong.
Right. So instead of this approach is inefficient, you say, if we moved the filtering logic outside the loop, it would reduce the time complexity. Though if there's a reason it's structured this way, I'd love to understand it.
The structure there is, if we add the change, it would, we add then the benefit. That's a classic second conditional. It's hypothetical. It's exploratory. It's not saying you did it wrong. It's saying, here's an alternative world where things work a bit differently.
Alternate dimension programming. Love it.
Also worth mentioning, hedging language. Words like potentially, perhaps, it seems like, it might be that. These are really common in British English especially, and they're incredibly useful for reducing the bluntness of critique.
Yes, this is inefficient versus this might potentially introduce some performance overhead. The meaning is similar, but the second one gives the author room to breathe.
Okay, let's do a rapid fire round. I'll throw some blunt comments at you and you transform them in real time. Ready?
Bring it.
This is duplicated code.
I noticed something similar in, would it make sense to extract this into a shared utility?
You didn't write any tests.
I'd love to see some test coverage for this, especially around the edge cases. Want me to suggest where we could start?
You even offered to help. That's next level.
That's the dream. Okay, next.
This variable name makes no sense.
Oh, this one's fun. This variable name is a bit hard for me to parse at a glance. Would something like convey the intent more clearly?
Beautiful. You made it about your parsing difficulty, not their naming skills. Last one, and this is the hardest. This whole approach is wrong.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm thinking about this the right way. I'm not sure this approach fully accounts for, could we hop on a quick call to walk through the logic together? I might be missing something.
Okay, you basically invited them to teach you while gently surfacing the problem. That is an art form.
Years of surviving toxic code review culture will do that to you.
All right, let's wrap up with the key takeaways for our listeners. What are the big language moves we covered today?
Okay, wrapping up, here's your cheat sheet. First, swap directives for inquiry. Should and must become could, might, would. Second, use first-person experience language. I found this hard to follow instead of this is confusing. Third, add a question at the end. What do you think? Does that make sense? Happy to discuss. It opens the door. Fourth, lead with curiosity, not judgment. I'd love to understand the reasoning here, is your friend. Fifth, the word we is magic. Use it constantly. It turns a critique into a shared problem. And sixth, conditionals are your secret weapon. If we did X, it would Y. Proposes without indicting.
And the overarching principle, a pull request is a conversation, not a verdict. The goal is to ship better software together. When your language reflects that, everything gets easier.
And honestly, people remember how you made them feel in a review, even more than they remember what you said. So being kind is not just a nice to have, it's a professional skill.
Couldn't have said it better. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode of English for Devs. If this was helpful, share it with a teammate, especially that one person on your team who writes 3-word PR comments.
You know who you are.
See you next episode. Keep coding, keep communicating, and keep it kind out there.
Bye, everyone.